Oscar Lowe would later tell police that he couldn't remember the exact date he first laid eyes on the Bellwethers, though he knew for sure it had been a Wednesday. It was one of those late October evenings in Cambridge when the gun-grey light of the afternoon had faded well before 6, and the cobbled avenues of the old town were dark and silent. He had just finished an 8 to 5 shift at Cedarbrook, the nursing home on Queen's Road, where he was a care assistant, and his mind was slow and heavy, laden with the details of his workday. The vacant faces of the older residents, the pallor of their tongues as they took their pills, the give of their skin as he lifted them into the bath. All he wanted was to get home, to fall upon his bed and sleep right through until tomorrow, when he would have to wake up and do the same things over again. By cutting through the grounds of King's College, he knew he could shave some time off the walk. In the old city, everybody cycled. The students skittered along the narrow lanes with loaded backpacks, the tourists pinballed from college to college on rented wheels. At any time of day, on any given pavement in Cambridge, someone could be found unlocking a bike from a lamppost and riding off towards the next one. But Oscar preferred the solace of walking. He crossed Clare Bridge and took the shortcut through the grounds of King's, hearing the flat echo of his footsteps on the path, still glassy from the afternoon rain. Everywhere was quiet. The clipped lawns seemed unusually blue with the indolent glow of flood lamps, and somewhere close by, wood smoke was rising from a cottage chimney, giving the impression of fog. As he went by the face of the college chapel, he tried his best not to look up, knowing exactly how it would make him feel. Tiny, irrelevant, godless. But he couldn't help staring at it. That formidable Gothic building with its tall spindles needling the sky and its giant blackened windows. It was the picture postcard on every carousel stand along King's Parade. He'd always hated it. Up close, in the near darkness, the place only haunted him more. It was not the architecture that troubled him, but the age of the building, the scale of its history. The royalty who had once communed there, all the serious people whose faces now thickened encyclopedias. A service was underway inside. He could already hear the muted thrum of organ music behind the chapel walls, and when he turned into the front court, the sound grew louder and sweeter, until he was close enough to make out the fullness of the instrument, a low, hoarse purr. He could almost feel it against his ribs. It was nothing like the overpowering dirges he remembered from school Christmas services, or the blundering renditions of "Abide with Me" he had strained to sing over at his grandparents' funerals. There was a fragility to this music, as if the organist wasn't pressing down on the keys, but hovering his fingers above them like a puppeteer. Oscar stopped in the entrance just to listen, and saw the sandwich board near the open doorway. Evensong, 5:30, public welcome. Before he knew it, his feet had carried him all the way inside. Stained glass windows surrounded him, barely showing their colours. The vaulted arches of the ceiling seemed to roll out into the distance. At the heart of the building, a wingspan of organ pipes bellowed from a wooden partition, and he could see the sombre congregation waiting in the candlelight on the other side. He found an empty seat and watched the choir filing in. The younger boys stood on the front row in their white gowns, cheerful and distracted. The older boys stood sheepishly behind them, aware of themselves in that teenaged way, fidgeting with their sleeves. When the organ stopped, there was a momentary silence, and then the choir began to sing. Their voices were so synchronized and balanced that Oscar could hardly tell them apart. They surged and retracted with the ease of an ocean, and he felt a rush in his heart as he listened. He was sorry when their hymn ended, and the Reverend stood to recite the Holy Creed. Across the aisle, people were gamely muttering the prayer, but Oscar stayed quiet, still thinking of the music.